The notification sound from my phone pierces through the quiet of my small Chicago apartment at 2:47 a.m. Half asleep, I squint at the screen, expecting a spam email or a random social media alert. Instead, I see 17 LinkedIn notifications, all congratulating someone named Ryan Mitchell for winning the National Innovation Award in Data Analytics. I'd love to know which corner of the globe you're watching from, and if this story speaks to you, make sure to subscribe. Tomorrow's video is one you absolutely can't miss. My blood turns cold. Ryan Mitchell is my brother. The National Innovation Award in Data Analytics is mine. I won it 3 months ago for developing an algorithm that revolutionized fraud detection in financial services. The same algorithm Ryan just presented at the International Tech Summit, claiming he created it during his time at Goldman Sachs. The same algorithm he's now using to launch his own consulting firm. The same algorithm that took me 4 years of sleepless nights, failed experiments, and countless rejections to perfect. As I scroll through the congratulatory posts, watching colleagues and industry leaders praise my brother for my work, I realize this isn't the first time. It's just the first time he's been careless enough to leave a digital trail. The morning after discovering Ryan's latest theft, I sit in the cramped break room of Dataflow Solutions, staring at my laptop screen while my coffee grows cold. My manager, Janet Holbrook, slides into the chair across from me, her expression a mixture of confusion and concern. "Claire, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest with me." Janet's voice carries the careful tone she uses during performance reviews. "Did you collaborate with your brother on the Mitchell algorithm?" The question hits me like a physical blow. The Mitchell algorithm. Even the name stings. It should be the Patterson algorithm, named after me, Claire Patterson, the person who actually created it. "No," I manage, my voice steadier than I feel. "I developed that algorithm independently. Ryan had no involvement in its creation." Janet slides her tablet across the table, showing me a Forbes article published that morning. The headline reads, "Rising star Ryan Mitchell revolutionizes fintech with groundbreaking fraud detection system." Below it, a professional headshot of my brother in an expensive suit, his confident smile dominating the page. The article says he developed this technology while working as a senior analyst at Goldman Sachs, Janet continues, her eyes searching my face. "But our records show you were working on similar technology here at Dataflow during the same time frame." I scroll through the article, watching my 4 years of work attributed to someone else. Ryan's quoted extensively about his innovative approach and breakthrough methodology. He describes techniques I developed, challenges I overcame, solutions I discovered through trial and error. "Janet, I can prove I created this algorithm. I have documentation, version histories, test results dating back to my first prototype in 2019. "That's what concerns me," Janet replies, leaning back in her chair. "If you develop this technology while employed here, it technically belongs to Dataflow. But if your brother independently created similar technology at Goldman Sachs, the implication hangs in the air. If Ryan's claims are true, my work looks derivative. If they're false, someone needs to prove it. And in the corporate world, perception often matters more than reality." "I need to review your project files," Janet says, not unkindly. HR wants to understand the timeline, make sure there are no intellectual property issues. After Janet leaves, I sit alone with my laptop, scrolling through Ryan's newly updated LinkedIn profile. His experience section now lists him as lead data scientist at Goldman Sachs from 2019 to 2023, claiming responsibility for developing proprietary fraud detection algorithms that reduced financial crime by 47%. The problem is, I know for a fact that Ryan worked in Goldman's marketing department during that period, not their data science division. He was creating PowerPoint presentations, not algorithms. But his LinkedIn profile tells a different story, complete with glowing recommendations from supposed colleagues I've never heard of. My phone buzzes with a text from my mother. "Saw the article about Ryan. So proud of both my kids working in tech.
When are you going to achieve something like this? The casual dismissal in her message reflects a pattern that started in childhood. Ryan, 18 months older and infinitely more charismatic, has always been the golden child. When we were kids, he'd take credit for my science fair projects, my school achievements, my ideas. Our parents found it endearing, their clever son helping his little sister succeed. I remember the last family dinner 2 months ago when I mentioned winning the National Innovation Award. Ryan had smiled and said, "That's great, Claire. I'm working on something similar at Goldman Sachs. Maybe we can compare notes." At the time, I thought he was being supportive. Now I realize he was gathering intelligence.
I pull up my original algorithm documentation, saved meticulously in my personal cloud storage. Every iteration is time-stamped, every breakthrough documented with detailed notes about my thought process. The first working prototype is dated March 15th, 2019, 6 months before Ryan claims he began developing his algorithm. But as I review the files, a sick feeling settles in my stomach. These documents prove I created the technology, but they're stored on my personal accounts, not Dataflow servers. If Ryan claims he developed similar technology independently, proving theft becomes much more complicated. My desk phone rings, interrupting my documentation review. The caller ID shows Mitchell Consulting Group, Ryan's new company. "Claire, did you see the Forbes article?" Ryan's voice carries the same enthusiasm he used when we were children, and he'd successfully convinced our parents that my broken toy was actually his idea for an improved design. "I saw it," I reply, keeping my voice neutral. "Listen, I know this might seem weird, but I've been thinking, you're really talented with data analysis, and I'm launching this consulting firm. Maybe you'd want to come work for me? I could use someone with your skills on my team." The audacity of the offer takes my breath away. He's stolen my life's work and now wants to hire me to help him profit from it. "Ryan, that's my algorithm. I created it. I won an award for it 3 months ago." "Claire, we both work in fraud detection. It's natural that we develop similar approaches. Great minds think alike, right?" His tone remains friendly, dismissive. "Besides, you work for a small firm. I was at Goldman Sachs. People are going to assume I had access to better resources, more sophisticated technology." "People are going to assume whatever you tell them to assume." "Look, I'm offering you a great opportunity here. Chief Technology Officer at Mitchell Consulting. 60% pay increase from whatever Dataflow's paying you. You'd be working with cutting-edge technology, high-profile clients. Working with my own technology, you mean?" Ryan's patience finally shows cracks. "Claire, you're being paranoid. I've been developing fraud detection systems for years. Just because you won some industry award doesn't mean you invented the entire field." "Some industry award?" My voice rises despite my efforts to stay calm. "Ryan, it's the National Innovation Award, the most prestigious recognition in our field. And I'm sure you deserved it. But Claire, I'm talking about real business here. Enterprise-level implementations. Fortune 500 clients. Your little award is nice, but I'm building something that actually matters." The dismissal is so casual, so complete, that for a moment I'm speechless. This is my brother, someone who should support my achievements, reducing 4 years of groundbreaking work to some industry award and your little award. I need to go. "Think about my offer, Claire. This could be really good for both of us." After hanging up, I sit staring at my computer screen, feeling smaller than I have in years. Ryan's confidence is absolute. He genuinely believes he can rewrite history simply by claiming it loudly enough. I open my email and find 17 new messages. Some are from colleagues asking if they knew about Ryan's newly announced development. Others are from industry contacts wondering why I never mentioned that my brother was working on similar technology. One is from the National Innovation Committee, asking for clarification about the relationship between my award-winning algorithm and Ryan's newly announced development. The most painful email comes from Dr. Sarah Chen, my graduate advisor, who mentored me through the early stages of algorithm development. Her message is brief. "Claire, I'm confused about the timeline here. Can we schedule a call to discuss?"
even people who know my work intimately are beginning to doubt the story. Ryan's credentials at Goldman Sachs, his polished media presence, his confident claims about timeframes and development resources, it all creates a narrative that makes my version seem less credible. I walk to the bathroom and splash cold water on my face, staring at my reflection in the harsh fluorescent lighting. At 31, I look tired. My hair is pulled back in the same practical ponytail I've worn since graduate school. My clothes are professional but unremarkable, the uniform of someone who lets their work speak for itself. Meanwhile, Ryan looks like a tech executive from Central Casting. Expensive suits, professional photography, the kind of confident smile that makes people assume success. He's always understood that perception shapes reality, while I naively believed that good work would speak for itself. When I return to my desk, Janet is waiting with a concerned expression.
A lot of love and effort went into bringing this story to life. If you're enjoying it, we'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe to our channel. Now, back to where we left off. Claire, I just got off a call legally. They're recommending we put your current projects on hold pending a full review of the intellectual property situation. My stomach drops. Janet, I can prove I developed this technology independently. I believe you, but until we sort this out legally, Dataflow needs to protect itself. If there's any chance your work overlaps with proprietary Goldman Sachs technology, it doesn't overlap. It's the same technology because Ryan stole it from me. Janet's expression softens with sympathy, but her words remain firm. That's a serious accusation, Claire. Do you have evidence of that? Evidence. The word hangs in the air between us. I have timestamps on my personal files, documentation of my development process, records of my own innovation. But Ryan has LinkedIn endorsements, media coverage, and the institutional credibility of Goldman Sachs. In a world where professional reputation often matters more than proof, I'm beginning to realize that evidence might not be enough. I'll find it, I tell Janet, though I'm not sure what it looks like yet. That evening, I sit in my apartment surrounded by printouts of my algorithm documentation, trying to figure out how to prove ownership of my own work. Outside, Chicago's evening traffic creates a steady hum of background noise, but inside, the silence feels overwhelming. My laptop shows Ryan's LinkedIn post about his Forbes feature, already generating hundreds of likes and congratulatory comments. Industry leaders are praising his innovation, sharing articles about his breakthrough, speculating about the impact of his new consulting firm. Meanwhile, my phone remains silent. No one is congratulating me, asking for my insights, or requesting interviews about my work. In the span of a single day, I've gone from award-winning innovator to potential fraud, simply because my brother decided to claim credit for my achievements. I open a new document and begin typing, timeline of algorithm development, evidence file. If Ryan wants to fight this battle in the court of public opinion, I'll need ammunition. Real evidence, documented proof, undeniable facts. But as I work, a nagging doubt creeps in. Even with evidence, even with timestamps and documentation, will anyone believe that quiet Claire Patterson created something that charismatic Ryan Mitchell is now claiming? In our family, in our industry, in our culture, we're trained to believe that success looks like Ryan, confident, polished, connected, not like me, methodical, introverted, focused more on the work than the presentation. Tomorrow, I'll start building my case. Tonight, I allow myself to feel the full weight of betrayal from someone who should have been my biggest supporter. The text from my fiancé, David, arrives while I'm sitting in the Dataflow parking lot during my lunch break, trying to gather courage for what I know will be a difficult conversation. Just saw Ryan's Forbes article. Why didn't you tell me your brother was working on the same stuff? This is awkward. Call me. I stare at the message, my hands trembling slightly. David works in venture capital, moving in the same professional circles where Ryan's credibility matters more than technical accuracy. If even my fiancé is questioning my story, the battle ahead looks impossible. I call him back, dreading the conversation. Claire, what's going on? David's voice carries a tension I've never heard before. I'm getting texts from colleagues asking if I knew about the connection between your work and Ryan's. This looks really bad.
David, Ryan stole my algorithm. The timeline proves I developed it first. Claire, he pauses. And in that silence, I hear everything I need to know. Look, I believe you, but this is more complicated than just timelines. Ryan's got Goldman Sachs on his resume. He's being profiled in Forbes. He's launching a major consulting firm. The optics here are... The optics? My voice rises. This isn't about optics. This is about my life's work being stolen. But baby, think about how this looks from the outside. A small firm data analyst claiming that a Goldman Sachs executive stole her work. People are going to assume... They're going to assume what? That I'm lying? That I'm delusional? David's silence stretches too long. When he finally speaks, his words cut deeper than any accusation. Claire, I'm just saying, maybe you both developed similar things independently. Maybe Ryan's version is more sophisticated because he had better resources. Maybe
You don't believe me either. That's not fair. I'm trying to protect you here. If you go public with accusations you can't prove, it'll destroy your career. My partners are already asking questions about my judgment, dating someone involved in a potential intellectual property dispute. The phrase potential intellectual property dispute hits like a slap. David has reduced my betrayal to a business liability, something that might affect his professional reputation. Your partners are questioning your judgment about me? Claire, this isn't personal, but yes, Harrison mentioned that association with contested IP claims could complicate future deals. If you're going to fight this, you need ironclad proof, not just timestamps and documentation. I end the call without saying goodbye, sitting alone in my car as the reality settles in. The man I'm supposed to marry in 8 months is more concerned about his business reputation than supporting me through the biggest crisis of my career. That evening, I drive to my best friend, Monica Castillo's apartment in Lincoln Park, hoping for solidarity. Monica and I have been close since graduate school. She understands the tech industry, knows my work ethic, has seen me develop the algorithm from its earliest stages. But when I explain the situation, her reaction catches me off guard. Claire, I saw Ryan's LinkedIn post this morning. The engagement is incredible. Over 2,000 likes, hundreds of comments from industry leaders. Monica settles onto her couch, laptop open, scrolling through Ryan's profile. His credentials are really impressive. Senior analyst at Goldman Sachs, recommendations from managing directors, connections to major tech executives. Monica, you know I created this algorithm. You helped me debug the initial code 3 years ago. I remember you working on fraud detection stuff, but Claire, she pauses, studying her screen. Ryan's profile shows he was leading advanced analytics projects at Goldman during the same time. His recommendations specifically mention his innovation in algorithmic trading and fraud prevention. I lean over to look at her laptop. Ryan's LinkedIn profile has been completely overhauled since yesterday. New endorsements from supposed Goldman colleagues, detailed project descriptions that mirror my work with suspicious accuracy, and testimonials that read like carefully crafted fiction. Monica, those recommendations are fake. Ryan worked in marketing at Goldman, not data science. How do you know that? Did you verify his actual role? Monica's question carries a skepticism that makes my chest tighten. Claire, I love you, but you've always been a little competitive with Ryan. Remember in grad school when you got upset because he got more attention at family gatherings? The comparison stings because it's partially true. I have always felt competitive with Ryan, always struggled with being overshadowed by his charisma. But this isn't about sibling rivalry. This is about theft. This is different, Monica. This is my career. I know, and I want to support you. But Claire, think about this logically. If Ryan really stole your work, why would he be so public about it? Why risk a Forbes interview and media attention if he knew the claims were false? The question haunts me because it touches on something I've been avoiding. Ryan's confidence isn't just arrogance, it's the assurance of someone who believes he can't be caught.
Either he's completely delusional or he knows something I don't. Maybe because he thinks I can't prove it, I answer, though uncertainty creeps into my voice. Monica closes her laptop, her expression softening with concern. Claire, I'm worried about you. This obsession with proving Ryan wrong, it's not healthy. Maybe you both developed similar technology independently. Maybe you should focus on your next project instead of fighting over credit for the last one. I drive home through Chicago's rain-soaked streets, windshield wipers beating a steady rhythm that matches my growing sense of isolation. The two people closest to me, my fiancé and my best friend, have essentially sided with Ryan based on nothing more than his polished presentation and professional credentials. At home, I find 3 voicemails waiting. The first is from my mother. Claire, honey, I saw the Forbes article about Ryan. I'm so proud of him. I called your father at work to share the news. We always knew Ryan would achieve something special in technology. Maybe you could learn from his success, dear. Sometimes collaboration works better than competition. The casual dismissal in her voice reflects 31 years of similar messages. Ryan the achiever, Claire the follower. Ryan the success story, Claire the support staff. The second voicemail is from Dr. Sarah Chen, my graduate advisor. Claire, I've been thinking about our conversation yesterday. I looked up Ryan's LinkedIn profile, and I have to say, his background is impressive. Goldman Sachs is known for their advanced analytics division. Perhaps there's been some miscommunication about the development timeline. I think we should schedule a meeting to clarify the situation before it becomes more complicated.
Even Dr. Chen, who guided me through the algorithm's early development, is beginning to doubt my version of events. Ryan's fabricated credentials are so convincing that they're overriding people's firsthand knowledge of my work. The third voicemail makes my blood run cold. Hi, Claire. This is Jennifer Walsh from TechCrunch. I'm working on a follow-up story about Ryan Mitchell's breakthrough algorithm, and several sources mention that you work in similar technology. I'd love to get your perspective on his innovation and how it compares to current industry standards. Please call me back at your earliest convenience. A tech journalist wants my perspective on Ryan's supposed innovation. She has no idea she's asking me to comment on my own stolen work. I pour a glass of wine and sit at my kitchen table, laptop open, staring at the evidence I've compiled. File creation dates, email timestamps, version histories, documentation of every breakthrough and setback. On paper, the case seems airtight. I created this technology. I can prove when and how I developed it, and I have a timeline that predates Ryan's claims by months. But in the court of public opinion, where LinkedIn profiles matter more than source code and media coverage trumps technical documentation, my evidence feels insufficient. I open LinkedIn and search for Ryan's supposed colleagues at Goldman Sachs, the people who've endorsed his algorithmic expertise. Marcus Thompson, supposedly a managing director who worked closely with Ryan on groundbreaking fraud detection protocols. His profile shows impressive credentials, but when I dig deeper, something feels off. Thompson's experience reads like a template, generic descriptions of financial services work, no specific projects or achievements, and recommendations that use buzzwords without substance. His connections are surprisingly limited for someone claiming to be a managing director at a major investment bank. I spend the next hour investigating Ryan's other endorsers: Patricia Davis, Senior Vice President of Analytics; Michael Rodriguez, Head of Quantitative Research. Each profile follows the same pattern: impressive titles, vague descriptions, limited real connections to Goldman Sachs's actual leadership. A horrifying possibility begins to emerge. These profiles aren't just embellished, they might be completely fabricated. Ryan might have created fake LinkedIn profiles to support his false narrative, building an entire fictional network of colleagues to validate his stolen credentials. But proving that would require resources I don't have. LinkedIn's verification processes are minimal, and distinguishing real profiles from sophisticated fakes isn't something I can do from my kitchen table. My phone buzzes with a text from David. Claire, we need to talk. My partner, Harrison, did some research on your situation. This could be more serious than we thought. Call me. I set the phone aside without responding. Whatever Harrison discovered, it's clearly not good news for me. Instead, I open a new browser tab and start researching professional investigators who specialize in corporate fraud and identity theft. The websites I find charge thousands of dollars for comprehensive background checks and credential verification, money I don't have on a Dataflow salary, especially with my wedding expenses looming. As I close the laptop feeling more isolated than ever, my phone rings. The caller ID shows Mitchell Consulting Group again. This time, I answer on the first ring. Ryan. Claire, I've been thinking about our conversation yesterday, and I wanted to make you another offer. His voice carries the same confident charm that has always made people gravitate toward him. I know the situation has been confusing, but I think we can work together to clear things up. Clear things up how? Well, I've been talking to some contacts at Goldman about our similar research, and they're interested in documenting the parallel development process. Kind of a case study about how great minds approach the same problems from different angles. I can almost see his smile through the phone. They're willing to pay for a co-authored paper about our respective approaches to fraud detection. You'd get full credit for your methodology, I'd get credit for mine, and we'd both benefit from the collaboration. You want me to co-author a paper about my own algorithm that you stole? Claire, you're being dramatic again. This could actually help both our careers. Goldman's research division has serious credibility, and having your name associated with their publication would be huge for your profile.
The audacity is breathtaking. Ryan is offering to let me share credit for my own work, presenting it as a generous opportunity rather than basic justice. Ryan, I'm not interested in sharing credit for something I created.
Listen, Claire, I've been patient with you, but this is getting ridiculous. I've built serious momentum around this algorithm. I've got clients ready to pay millions for implementations, and I'm launching a company. You can either be part of that success, or you can keep playing victim about imaginary theft. Imaginary theft? Yes, imaginary, because you can't prove I stole anything. You have some timestamps on personal files that could have been created anytime. I have a documented career at Goldman Sachs developing this exact technology. Which story do you think people will believe? His confidence in his voice is absolute. He's not just denying the theft. He genuinely believes he's untouchable. People will believe the truth, Ryan. People will believe the most convincing narrative, Claire. And right now, my narrative has better credentials, better media coverage, and better business prospects than yours. After he hangs up, I sit in my dark kitchen, understanding for the first time how completely Ryan has isolated me. My fiancé questions my judgment, my best friend doubts my story, my own graduate advisor is wavering. Even people who know my work are beginning to accept Ryan's version of events. In the span of 48 hours, I've gone from respected innovator to potential fraud, simply because Ryan understood something I didn't. In the modern professional world, perception shapes reality faster than facts can correct it. But as I review the evidence one more time, a new determination settles in. Ryan may have superior credentials and media coverage, but he's made one crucial mistake. He's created a digital trail of lies that might be sophisticated enough to fool casual observers, but not comprehensive enough to survive serious investigation. If I can prove his Goldman Sachs credentials are fabricated, if I can expose the fake LinkedIn profiles supporting his narrative, the entire foundation of his story crumbles. The question is whether I can find that proof before his lies become accepted truth, and whether anyone will still be willing to listen when I do. The email from Janet arrives at 8:47 a.m. on Friday, marked with the red flag that indicates urgent company business. My stomach drops before I even open it. Claire, please see me in my office at 9 a.m. Bring your personal laptop and any external storage devices containing project-related files. I walk to Janet's office, carrying my laptop bag, knowing this conversation will determine whether I still have a job by lunch. Through her glass door, I can see she's not alone. A woman in a navy suit sits across from her desk, legal pad open, pen poised. "Claire, this is Amanda Foster from our legal department," Janet says as I settle into the remaining chair. "We need to discuss the intellectual property situation." Amanda Foster looks like she's handled corporate disputes her entire career. Her expression is professionally neutral, but her questions cut straight to the core issues. "Ms. Patterson, we've completed our initial review of your project files. The timeline documentation is thorough, but there are concerns about the development environment. Can you explain why this algorithm was developed using personal equipment rather than company resources?" The question reveals the trap I didn't see coming. I did the foundational work at home because I was exploring theoretical approaches. Once I proved the concept worked, I adapted it for company implementation. So the core innovation occurred outside company time using personal resources? Yes, but which means Dataflow's ownership claim may be limited to the specific implementation you created for our systems, not the underlying methodology. Amanda makes notes as she speaks, already documenting what sounds like a legal strategy. If your brother independently developed similar methodology while employed at Goldman Sachs, their intellectual property rights might supersede ours, especially given their institutional resources and documented development timeline. Janet shifts uncomfortably. "Claire, I want to support you, but the company needs to protect itself. If there's any chance this becomes a lawsuit involving Goldman Sachs, Dataflow can't afford that exposure." "There won't be a lawsuit because Ryan didn't develop anything. He stole my work." Amanda looks up from her legal pad. "Ms. Patterson, that's a serious accusation. Do you have evidence beyond development timelines? Communications showing he accessed your files? Documentation of unauthorized sharing?" The questions highlight the weakness in my position. Ryan didn't hack my computer or steal physical files. He simply observed my work over family dinners and casual conversations, then used his charisma and fabricated credentials to claim credit publicly.
The evidence is in the work itself, the techniques, the specific approaches, even the variable naming conventions. Similar methodologies don't prove theft, Amanda interrupts, especially when dealing with mathematical algorithms that might naturally converge on similar solutions. Janet's expression grows more concerned. "Claire, I need to ask directly, are you planning to pursue legal action against your brother or Goldman Sachs?" The question hangs in the air. Pursuing legal action would mean burning bridges with Dataflow, spending money I don't have on lawyers who might not win, and facing off against Goldman Sachs' legal department. But not pursuing legal action means accepting that Ryan can steal my life's work with impunity. I'm considering my options. Amanda closes her legal pad. "Ms. Patterson, I need to inform you that Dataflow is placing you on administrative leave pending resolution of this matter. You'll continue receiving your salary for 30 days, but all project work is suspended immediately." The words hit like a physical blow. Administrative leave is corporate speak for guilty until proven innocent. They're removing me from everything I've worked to build while Ryan expands his stolen empire. "Janet, I've given 3 years to this company. You know my work ethic, my innovation record." "Claire, this isn't about your performance. It's about legal exposure. Until we understand the intellectual property landscape, Dataflow can't risk continued association with contested technology." I hand over my company laptop and security badge, feeling like a criminal, despite being the victim. The walk to my car through Dataflow's parking lot feels endless, made worse by colleagues watching through office windows. At home, I sit at my kitchen table with my personal laptop, suddenly understanding that my career in corporate tech might be over. No company will hire someone involved in an intellectual property dispute with Goldman Sachs, regardless of who's telling the truth. My phone buzzes with a LinkedIn notification.
Ryan has posted an update about Mitchell Consulting Group's first major client, a Fortune 500 financial services company that's implementing his proprietary fraud detection algorithm across their entire transaction processing system. The contract value, $2.3 million over 18 months. Ryan is earning millions from my stolen work while I face unemployment and potential professional blacklisting. But as I stare at his post, something shifts inside me. The anger that's been building for 3 days crystallizes into cold determination. If the corporate world won't protect me, I'll protect myself. I open a new browser tab and search for Professional Background Check Services. The top result is Meridian Investigations, a Chicago-based corporate fraud and credential verification firm. Their website shows case studies of executives caught fabricating degrees, falsifying employment histories, and creating fake professional references. Exactly what I suspect Ryan has done. The consultation fee is $500, money I don't have with wedding expenses and potential unemployment looming. But David's parents had given us $5,000 toward wedding costs, sitting untouched in our joint savings account. I transfer the money to my personal account and call Meridian. Meridian Investigations, this is Rebecca Walsh speaking. I need to verify someone's employment history and professional credentials. I believe they fabricated their LinkedIn profile and work experience. Are you calling as a potential employer, a legal representative, or a private individual? Private individual. This person has stolen intellectual property from me and is using fake credentials to support their claims. Rebecca's tone becomes more engaged. That's serious. Can you come in this afternoon for a consultation? I'll need details about the target, specific claims you want verified, and documentation of your own work to establish the theft timeline. 3 hours later, I sit in Rebecca's downtown office, a converted warehouse space that feels more like a detective agency than a corporate investigation firm. Rebecca herself is younger than I expected, maybe 35 with short blonde hair and the focused intensity of someone who enjoys uncovering lies. So your brother claimed he developed fraud detection algorithms while working as a senior analyst at Goldman Sachs, but you suspect he actually worked in their marketing department.
I know he worked in marketing. He complained about PowerPoint presentations and client meetings constantly. He never mentioned data science or algorithmic development until after I started winning recognition for my work. Rebecca makes notes in a file labeled Mitchell Investigation. Goldman Sachs employment verification is tricky. They're protective of employee information. But LinkedIn profiles are easier to investigate, especially if he's created fake endorsement profiles. She turns her computer screen toward me, showing a sophisticated analysis dashboard. We can trace IP addresses for profile creation, analyze writing patterns and recommendations, cross-reference supposed colleagues with actual Goldman employee directories. How long does this take? Comprehensive verification usually takes 7 to 10 business days. But if your brother's credentials are as fabricated as you suspect, we might find obvious discrepancies within 48 hours. I write a check for the investigation fee, knowing I'm betting my financial future on proving Ryan's lies. If Rebecca finds nothing, I'll be broke and still unemployed. If she proves the fraud, I might have ammunition to fight back. One more thing, Rebecca says as I prepare to leave. If we prove credential fabrication, what's your plan? Are you prepared for this to become public? Because exposing professional fraud usually means media attention, industry scrutiny, potential legal battles. The question forces me to confront what I've been avoiding. Fighting Ryan means risking everything: my relationship with David, my standing with family, my reputation in tech circles that value consensus over confrontation. But not fighting means accepting that innovation belongs to whoever claims it loudest, that quiet competence loses to charismatic theft, that people like me should be grateful for whatever recognition we're allowed to keep. I'm prepared, I tell Rebecca, though I'm not sure that's true. Good, because if your brother has built a consulting empire on fabricated credentials and stolen work, bringing him down won't be quiet
or easy. Walking back to my car through Chicago's late afternoon traffic, I feel lighter than I have in days. For the first time since discovering Ryan's theft, I'm taking action instead of just documenting evidence. My phone rings as I unlock my car door. David's number flashes on the screen. "Claire, we need to talk. My partner Harrison found something about your situation. Can you come over tonight?" "What kind of something?" "I'd rather discuss it in person, but Claire, whatever you're planning to do about Ryan, you need to be careful. This situation is more complicated than you realize." The warning in his voice suggests that whatever Harrison discovered isn't going to help my case. But I've already committed to the investigation, already decided to fight regardless of the consequences. "I'll be there at 7, I tell David, ending the call. As I drive home, I feel the weight of burning bridges behind me. The old Claire would have accepted administrative leave, found a new job, and moved on quietly. She would have prioritized stability over justice, peace over truth. But the old Claire also lost her life's work to someone who understood that bold lies often defeat quiet truths. The new Claire is about to find out whether evidence and determination can overcome charisma and fabricated credentials. Whether the digital trail that modern professionals leave behind is sophisticated enough to hide fraud or comprehensive enough to expose it. Either way, there's no going back now. Rebecca's call comes at 6:23 a.m. Tuesday, 3 days after I hired Meridian Investigations. I answer on the first ring, wide awake despite the early hour. "Claire, I need you to come in immediately. What we found is bigger than credential fabrication." Her voice carries an urgency that makes my pulse quicken. "What did you discover?" "Not over the phone. How quickly can you get to my office?" An hour later, I sit across from Rebecca in her conference room, watching her arrange printed documents with the precision of someone about to present a case in court. Her expression is a mixture of professional satisfaction and genuine concern. "Your instincts were correct," she begins, sliding the first document toward me. "Ryan Mitchell never worked as a senior analyst at Goldman Sachs. In fact, he was terminated from their marketing department in March 2021 for falsifying client presentation data. The termination record shows details that make my stomach turn. Ryan was fired not just for incompetence, but for deliberately misleading clients about market research findings. The same pattern of deception he's now applying to my stolen algorithm."
But that's just the beginning, Rebecca continues, opening a thick folder. The LinkedIn profiles endorsing his technical expertise, all fake, every single one. She spreads out printed profiles across the table. Marcus Thompson, Patricia Davis, Michael Rodriguez, all the supposed Goldman colleagues who validated Ryan's algorithmic expertise. Look at the creation dates, Rebecca points to timestamps highlighted in yellow. Thompson's profile was created on February 14th, the day after your Forbes article about winning the Innovation Award was published. Davis and Rodriguez were created within 48 hours of each other, right before Ryan's media blitz began. I study the profiles with new eyes, seeing the sophisticated fraud beneath their polished appearance. How did you prove they're fake? IP address analysis. All 3 profiles were created from the same Chicago area internet connection, traced to a coffee shop in Lincoln Park where your brother regularly works. But here's the smoking gun. Rebecca opens her laptop and shows me a forensic analysis dashboard. The recommendation letters for these fake profiles, they're written in Ryan's linguistic pattern. Same sentence structure, identical vocabulary preferences, matching grammatical quirks. The evidence is overwhelming. Ryan didn't just steal my algorithm, he created an entire fictional professional network to support his theft. The level of premeditation is staggering. There's more, Rebecca says, producing another set of documents. Mitchell Consulting Group's client contracts. I obtained copies through a contact in the financial services industry. She slides 3 contracts across the table, each worth over $1 million. Ryan is licensing your algorithm to major banks under different names. Thomson Mitchell Fraud Detection System for JP Morgan Chase. Advanced Pattern Recognition Protocol for Wells Fargo. Mitchell Proprietary Analytics Suite for Bank of America. My hands shake as I read the contract details.
Ryan isn't just claiming credit for my work, he's systematically monetizing it across the entire financial industry using different names to avoid detection. The total contract value exceeds $8 million, Rebecca states quietly. Your brother has built a consulting empire entirely on stolen intellectual property. $8 million. The number is so large it doesn't feel real. While I face unemployment and professional ostracism, Ryan is earning millions from technology I developed in my spare bedroom. But Claire, we found something else, something that changes everything. Rebecca pulls out a different folder, this one marked confidential, ongoing investigation. Your brother isn't just stealing from you. We found evidence of a pattern spanning 5 years. Academic papers published under false credentials, patents filed using fabricated research, consulting contracts won through falsified case studies. She opens the folder to reveal a timeline of fraud that makes my situation look small by comparison. This conference presentation from 2019, Rebecca points to a printed slide deck, Ryan claimed credit for blockchain optimization research actually conducted by Maria Santos, a graduate student at Northwestern. She never pursued legal action because she couldn't afford to fight someone with his apparent credentials. Another document shows a 2020 patent filing where Ryan claimed ownership of manufacturing efficiency algorithms developed by a small tech startup that went bankrupt before they could challenge his claims. Your brother has stolen intellectual property worth at least $15 million over 5 years, Rebecca concludes. You're not his first victim, Claire. You're just the first one with evidence and resources to fight back. The revelation reframes everything. This isn't about sibling rivalry or family dynamics. Ryan is a professional fraud artist who's been perfecting his techniques for years, stealing innovations from people too vulnerable or under-resourced to challenge him. Why hasn't anyone stopped him before? Because he's brilliant at target selection. Graduate students with no legal resources, small companies that can't afford patent litigation, individual researchers at large corporations who get transferred or laid off before they can build cases. He identifies innovations from people who can't fight back. I think about Maria Santos, the graduate student whose blockchain research Ryan stole. How many nights did she spend developing those algorithms? How many career opportunities did she lose when Ryan claimed credit for her work? What about the people being frauded right now, the banks paying millions for my stolen algorithm? Rebecca's expression grows grim. That's where this gets complicated. Those banks think they're purchasing legitimate proprietary technology. If Ryan's fraud becomes public, they'll demand refunds and potentially sue for damages. We're looking at a scandal that could destroy multiple business relationships and trigger federal investigation.
The scope of the situation overwhelms me. I started this investigation to prove Ryan stole my algorithm. Instead, I've uncovered a multi-million-dollar fraud operation that spans multiple industries and involves some of the largest financial institutions in the country. Rebecca, what do I do with this information? You have several options, none of them simple. She begins organizing the documents back into folders. Option 1, take this evidence to the FBI's white-collar crime division. Ryan's fraud involves interstate commerce and federal banking regulations. But that means a lengthy investigation where you might not see resolution for years. She continues laying out possibilities while I try to process the magnitude of what we've discovered. Option 2, contact the media with the story. TechCrunch, Forbes, The Wall Street Journal. Public exposure would stop Ryan immediately, but it might also trigger defamation lawsuits and put you at the center of a media circus. Option 3, approach Ryan directly with the evidence and demand he cease operations and make restitution. But given the scale of his fraud, he might simply destroy evidence and disappear. I stare at the documents spread across the table, evidence of a criminal operation that started with stealing my algorithm but extends far beyond anything I imagined. There's one more thing, Rebecca says, hesitating. We found communications suggesting Ryan has been monitoring your activities,
email intercepts, social media surveillance, possibly even physical tracking. The paranoia I've felt for the past week suddenly makes sense. He's been watching me? It appears so. Professional fraud artists typically monitor their victims to stay ahead of potential challenges. He likely knows you hired an investigator. My phone buzzes with a text message. The sender is listed as unknown number, but the message makes my blood freeze. Claire, we should talk before you do something we'll both regret. Meet me at Millennium Park tonight at 8 p.m. Come alone. Rebecca sees my expression change. What is it? I show her the message. She immediately opens her laptop and begins typing rapidly. We're accelerating the timeline. This evidence needs to be in official hands today. Ryan's contacting you directly means he's either planning to threaten you into silence or eliminate the threat you represent. Eliminate the threat? Claire, we're talking about someone who's stolen $15 million through systematic fraud. People have been killed for much less. The words hit like ice water. Until this moment, I've thought of Ryan as my arrogant brother who happened to be a thief. Now I'm realizing he might be something much more dangerous. Don't meet him, Rebecca says firmly. We're taking this evidence to federal authorities immediately. This is no longer about recovering credit for your algorithm. It's about stopping a criminal enterprise. As Rebecca prints copies of the evidence for multiple recipients, I sit staring at Ryan's text message. The brother I grew up with, who taught me to ride a bike and helped me with math homework, has become someone I don't recognize. But he's also revealed something I never knew I had: the courage to fight back against injustice, even when the stakes are higher than I ever imagined. Special Agent Catherine Morrison's office in the FBI's Chicago field headquarters feels like stepping into a procedural drama. Gray walls, fluorescent lighting, and filing cabinets that suggest serious business rather than corporate meetings. Rebecca sits beside me as Agent Morrison reviews the evidence we've compiled, her expression growing more focused with each document. Ms. Patterson, what you've uncovered constitutes wire fraud, identity theft, and violation of federal banking regulations. The interstate nature of the contracts and the involvement of federally regulated financial institutions makes this a federal case. 3 hours ago, Rebecca called the FBI's Economic Crimes Division. 2 hours ago, we were sitting in this office explaining how my stolen algorithm led to discovering a $15 million fraud operation. Now I'm officially a federal witness in a white-collar crime investigation. Agent Morrison, what happens next? We'll need your complete cooperation as we build the case. That means no contact with Ryan Mitchell until we authorize it. And unfortunately, that includes responding to his message last night. She slides a printed copy of Ryan's text across the desk. We've traced this number to a burner phone purchased with cash in Lincoln Park. Your brother is sophisticated enough to use untraceable communication methods, which suggests he's done this before.
Rebecca leans forward. Agent Morrison, we believe Ryan is actively monitoring Claire's communications. If he knows about the investigation, he might destroy evidence or flee. That's why we're moving quickly. We've already initiated financial monitoring on Mitchell Consulting Group's accounts and begun tracing the fake LinkedIn co-files. But, Ms. Patterson, I need to warn you, federal investigations take time, months, possibly years. Are you prepared for that timeline? The question hits me with unexpected weight. What about the banks that are paying for my stolen algorithm? Don't they have a right to know they're being defrauded? They do, and will inform them at the appropriate time. But premature disclosure could compromise the investigation and allow your brother to hide additional evidence. My phone buzzes on Agent Morrison's desk. Another unknown number, another text from Ryan. Claire, time is running out. Meet me tonight or face consequences you haven't considered. Agent Morrison reads the message, her expression hardening. This crosses into intimidation territory. We're escalating our timeline. She picks up her desk phone and dials an extension. I need a surveillance team on Ryan Mitchell immediately. Consider him a flight risk.
As Agent Morrison coordinates with other federal departments, I sit processing the surreal reality that my algorithm theft has become a federal investigation. 6 days ago, I was a data scientist with a promising career. Now I'm a federal witness whose brother is under FBI surveillance. Ms. Patterson, Agent Morrison returns for attention to me. I need to ask about your current relationship with your brother. When did you last speak, and did he give any indication he suspected you were investigating him? I think back to our phone conversations, remembering Ryan's increasing confidence and his casual dismissal of my concerns. He seemed completely sure that I couldn't prove anything, like he'd planned for every contingency. Professional fraudsters often develop that confidence over time, but your brother made a critical mistake when he created those fake LinkedIn profiles. Digital evidence is nearly impossible to completely erase. Rebecca opens her laptop and shows Agent Morrison the forensic analysis dashboard. We've documented not just the profile creation, but also the coordination between posts, the timing of endorsements, and the linguistic patterns that prove common authorship. This is excellent work, Agent Morrison acknowledges. Miss Walsh, how did you obtain access to these IP address records? Through legitimate channels. I'm a licensed private investigator with established relationships in digital forensics. Everything was obtained legally and will hold up in court. Agent Morrison makes notes in Ryan's file, which has grown substantially since our arrival. Miss Patterson, there's something else we need to discuss. Your brother's fraud operation appears to target people in vulnerable positions: graduate students, startup founders, recently laid off employees, people who can't afford legal representation or lack institutional support. The observation makes me think about my own situation. 3 weeks ago, I had a stable job and supportive relationships. Now I'm on administrative leave, my fiancé is questioning my judgment, and my family sides with Ryan. If I hadn't inherited enough money for a private investigator, would I have become another silent victim? We believe there may be other victims who haven't come forward. Would you be willing to participate in a public appeal for information? Help us identify additional targets of your brother's fraud. The request terrifies me. Going public means media attention, industry scrutiny, and potential retaliation from Ryan or his clients. But it also means other victims might finally get justice. Yes, I'll do it. Agent Morrison nods approvingly. We'll coordinate with media contacts to ensure the story focuses on the fraud pattern rather than family dynamics. This isn't about sibling rivalry. It's about systematic criminal behavior. My phone rings with David's number. Agent Morrison gestures that I can answer. Claire, where are you? I've been calling all morning. We need to talk about what Harrison discovered. I'm handling the situation. I'll call you back later. Claire, wait. Harrison found something about Ryan's contracts, something that could affect you directly. Agent Morrison motions for me to stay on the call, activating a recording device. What did Harrison find? Ryan's consulting contracts include indemnification clauses that make you personally liable if his technology is proven to be stolen intellectual property. Claire, if his clients sue for fraud, they could come after you as the original developer. The words hit like a punch to the stomach. Not only has Ryan stolen my work, but he structured his contracts to make me financially responsible for his fraud.
Agent Morrison takes notes rapidly, her expression grim. Mr. Patterson, this is Agent Morrison with the FBI. I need you to forward all documents related to those contracts immediately. David's shock is audible through the phone. FBI? Claire, what's going on? I can't explain right now, but David, don't discuss this with anyone else. Send the documents to Agent Morrison's email address. After ending the call, Agent Morrison reviews the implications. Fraudulent indemnification clauses are a new wrinkle. Your brother is not only stealing intellectual property, but attempting to make his victims liable for his crimes. Rebecca shakes her head in disbelief. He's created a system where he profits from theft while transferring all legal risk to his victims. That's sociopathic-level planning. Which is why we need to stop him quickly, Agent Morrison responds. Miss Patterson,
I'm going to authorize a controlled contact with your brother. We want you to meet him as he requested, but with federal surveillance and recording equipment. The suggestion makes my pulse race. You want me to confront him directly? We want you to give him an opportunity to confess or make incriminating statements. Based on his messages, he's confident he can convince you to drop your investigation. That confidence might lead him to reveal information about other victims or additional fraud. Rebecca looks concerned. Agent Morrison, that could be dangerous. If Ryan suspects Claire is working with federal authorities, we'll have a full surveillance team in place. Ms. Patterson will be wired for sound and video, with agents positioned within immediate response distance. The moment the conversation becomes threatening, we intervene. I think about Ryan's text messages, his escalating threats, and the $15 million he's stolen from victims who couldn't fight back. What do you need me to do? Agent Morrison outlines the operation plan. You'll wear recording equipment to document whatever he says. We're particularly interested in admissions about the fake LinkedIn profiles, details about other victims, and any threats or attempts at coercion. What if he doesn't confess? What if he just denies everything? Then we proceed with the evidence we have. But criminals often can't resist explaining their cleverness to victims they think they've defeated. Your brother believes he's untouchable. That arrogance might work in our favor. As we prepare to leave the FBI office, Agent Morrison hands me a business card with her direct number. Miss Patterson, I want you to understand something. What you've done here, uncovering this fraud, bringing it to federal attention, you've potentially saved dozens of future victims. People like you, with innovative ideas and limited resources to protect them. The weight of responsibility settles on my shoulders. This isn't just about recovering credit for my algorithm anymore. It's about stopping a predator who's built his career on destroying other people's work and dreams. When do we do this? I ask. Tonight. We'll use his chosen location, but with our preparations. Millennium Park at 8 p.m., exactly as he requested. Walking out of the federal building into Chicago's afternoon sunlight, I feel the strange mix of terror and determination that comes with crossing a point of no return. In 6 hours, I'll face my brother while wearing FBI recording equipment, trying to gather evidence that could send him to federal prison. But for the first time since discovering his theft, I'm not facing Ryan alone. I have federal agents, documented evidence, and the knowledge that I'm fighting not just for myself, but for every victim he's targeted and every future innovator he might destroy. The question now is whether my brother's arrogance will finally become his downfall, or whether he's too sophisticated to be caught by his own confidence. The recording device feels heavier than it should against my chest as I walk through Millennium Park toward the bean sculpture where Ryan waits. Agent Morrison's voice crackles through my nearly invisible earpiece. Target acquired. We have visual on both subjects. Proceed with caution. Ryan stands with his back to me, silhouetted against Chicago's evening skyline. Even from 50 feet away, I can see the expensive cut of his suit, the confident posture that has always made people assume he deserves whatever success he claims. Claire. He turns as I approach, his smile carrying none of its usual warmth. I was beginning to think you'd gotten smart and decided not to come. What do you want, Ryan? He gestures to nearby bench, positioned strategically away from foot traffic. As we sit, I notice his eyes constantly scanning our surroundings, a level of paranoia that suggests he knows more than he's revealing. I want to help you understand something, he begins, his voice taking on the patient tone he's always used when explaining why I'm wrong about something. You've been making inquiries about my professional background, hiring investigators, making calls to federal agencies.
My blood turns cold. He knows about the FBI investigation. I don't know what you're talking about. Ryan laughs, pulling out his phone to show me a photograph. It's a picture of me entering the FBI building this morning, timestamp clearly visible. Claire, I've been monitoring your activities since the day after my Forbes interview. Your phone calls, your email patterns, your credit card transactions.
Did you really think I wouldn't notice when you hired Meridian Investigations? Agent Morrison's voice in my earpiece. Keep him talking. Get him to explain his surveillance methods. How are you tracking me? The same way I've been tracking all my potential problems for 5 years. Ryan replies, his confidence absolute. Digital surveillance, social engineering, financial monitoring. It's surprisingly easy when you know what to look for. He swipes to another photo on his phone, this one showing Rebecca Walsh entering her office building. Your investigator is very thorough, by the way. Almost discovered my operation 3 years ago when she was looking into someone else's case. I had to be more careful after that. The casual admission of long-term criminal surveillance makes my skin crawl, but I force myself to stay focused on gathering evidence. Ryan, why are you telling me this? Because I want you to understand the scope of what you're dealing with before you make any irreversible mistakes. He puts away his phone and looks at me directly. Claire, you think this is about your little algorithm. You have no idea what you've stumbled into. Then explain it to me. Ryan stands and walks to the edge of the reflecting pool, forcing me to follow. As we move, I notice figures positioned around the park, Agent Morrison's surveillance team, though Ryan seems oblivious to their presence. I've built a $15 million consulting empire by identifying undervalued intellectual property and repositioning it in premium markets. Graduate students, startup founders, individual researchers, people who create brilliant innovations but lack the business sophistication to properly monetize them. You mean people you can steal from. I mean people whose work would otherwise be wasted in academic papers or failed startups. Ryan's voice carries genuine conviction. Claire, your algorithm was gathering dust at Dataflow. I turned it into $8 million in enterprise contracts. I created value where none existed before. The rationalization is breathtaking. Ryan has convinced himself that theft is actually a public service. What about Maria Santos, the Northwestern graduate student whose blockchain research you stole? Ryan pauses, surprised that I know about other victims. Maria Santos couldn't have commercialized that research. She had no business experience, no industry connections, no understanding of market applications. Her work would have died in some academic journal. So you stole it to save it? I preserved it by finding practical applications, just like I preserved your fraud detection algorithm by implementing it across the financial services industry. Agent Morrison's voice in my earpiece. He's admitting to multiple thefts. Keep pushing for details about the fake LinkedIn profiles. Ryan, what about the fake LinkedIn profiles? Marcus Thompson, Patricia Davis, Michael Rodriguez. For the first time, Ryan's confidence wavers slightly. How much do you know about that? I know they're all fake. I know you created them to validate your stolen credentials. I know you used IP address spoofing and linguistic analysis to make them seem real. Ryan stares at me for a long moment, then breaks into a genuine smile. Claire, I'm actually impressed. You've done better detective work than I expected. He sits back down on the bench, his posture relaxing as if we're discussing a chess game rather than federal crimes. Yes, I created those profiles. Brilliant work, actually. Sophisticated enough to fool industry professionals, comprehensive enough to withstand casual investigation. The recommendations alone took weeks to write. Different styles, varied vocabulary, authentic-sounding project details. You're confessing to identity fraud. I'm acknowledging strategic marketing. Claire, do you know how the business world actually works? Success isn't about having the best technology. It's about having the most convincing story. My fake LinkedIn network didn't hurt anyone. It simply provided the credibility markers that clients expect to see.
We need information about clients and contracts. Push him on the financial details. What about the $8 million in contracts? The banks that are paying for my stolen algorithm? Ryan's expression grows more serious. That's where you need to be very careful, Claire. Those contracts include specific indemnification clauses.
If you prove that the algorithm was stolen intellectual property, you become personally liable for fraud damages. You structured the contracts to make me responsible for your theft? I structured the contracts to protect my business model. Claire, if you expose the situation, JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America will demand refunds totaling $8 million, plus damages, plus legal fees. Are you prepared to pay $20 million to prove a point? The threat is clear and calculated. Ryan has built his fraud operation to ensure that victims can't fight back without destroying themselves financially. But there's an alternative, he continues, pulling out a document from his jacket. I'm prepared to offer you a settlement. $2 million, cash, in exchange for signing a non-disclosure agreement and transferring all intellectual property rights to Mitchell Consulting Group. He slides the contract across the bench. Claire, this is more money than you'll earn in your entire career at Dataflow. Take it and walk away quietly. I stare at the contract, understanding that this is Ryan's final offer, his attempt to buy my silence and legitimize his theft permanently. Ryan, you're offering to pay me for my own work with money you earned by stealing it. I'm offering to pay you for your discretion. The work has already been monetized. The question is whether you want to benefit from that success or destroy it out of spite. Agent Morrison's voice in my earpiece. Claire, we have enough evidence for federal charges. Signal us if you feel unsafe. I stand up from the bench, leaving Ryan's contract untouched. Ryan, do you remember when we were kids and you took credit for my science fair project? Mom and Dad praised you for your innovation while I stood there knowing the truth. Claire, this isn't about childhood. It's exactly about childhood. You've spent 35 years taking credit for other people's work because you learned that charisma beats competence, that confident lies defeat quiet truths. Ryan's expression hardens. Claire, you're making a mistake you can't afford. I've built relationships with people who don't tolerate threats to their investments. If you expose the situation, you won't just face financial ruin, you'll face consequences you haven't imagined. Are you threatening me? I'm explaining reality. This isn't just about us anymore. There are powerful people with millions of dollars at stake. Walk away, Claire. Take the money and disappear. I touch the recording device through my shirt, knowing that every word of Ryan's threats and admissions is being documented by federal agents. Ryan, I have one question for you. In 5 years of stealing other people's work, have you ever created anything original? Anything that was actually yours? For the first time in our conversation, Ryan looks genuinely hurt. Claire, you don't understand. I see potential that others miss. I connect innovations with markets. I create value. You create nothing. You steal dreams and claim them as your own. As I walk away from the bench, Ryan calls after me. Claire, you have 24 hours to reconsider. After that, the offer expires and the consequences begin. Agent Morrison's voice in my earpiece. Excellent work. We have everything we need. Proceed to the extraction point Alpha. Walking through Millennium Park toward the waiting FBI vehicles, I feel a strange combination of triumph and exhaustion. Ryan's threats were captured on federal recording equipment, his admissions documented by multiple surveillance teams, his criminal operation exposed in his own words. But I also know that tomorrow the real battle begins. Media attention, legal proceedings, industry scrutiny, and potential retaliation from clients who've discovered they've been defrauded. But for tonight, though, I allow myself to feel something I haven't experienced in weeks. The satisfaction of fighting back successfully against someone who thought he was untouchable. 6 months after Ryan's arrest, I stand at the podium of the Chicago Convention Center looking out at an audience of 300 technology professionals, fraud investigators, and intellectual property attorneys. The banner behind me reads, Tech Ethics Summit 2024, Protecting Innovation in the Digital Age. My presentation today isn't about algorithms or data analysis. It's about something far more important. How the modern professional world enables sophisticated fraud, and what we can do to protect genuine innovators from predators like my brother.
When I discovered that my brother had stolen my award-winning algorithm and built an $8 million consulting empire on my work, I thought I was dealing with a family problem. I began, my voice carrying easily through the conference hall's sound system. I had no idea I was uncovering a criminal operation that had defrauded dozens of victims across multiple industries. The audience listens with the focused attention of people who understand that intellectual property theft could happen to any of them. In the front row, I recognize faces from major tech companies, university research departments, and federal agencies. These aren't just observers, they're potential victims and protectors. Ryan Mitchell didn't just steal my algorithm. Over 5 years, he systematically targeted graduate students, startup founders, and individual researchers, stealing innovations worth over $15 million. He succeeded because he understood something that many honest innovators don't. In our connected digital world, perception often shapes reality faster than facts can correct it. I clicked to the next slide showing the timeline of Ryan's fraud operation that Rebecca Walsh's investigation uncovered. Each stolen innovation is marked with the victim's name, the monetary value of their stolen work, and the fake credentials Ryan used to claim ownership. Maria Santos, a Northwestern graduate student whose blockchain optimization research was stolen and patented under Ryan's name. Dr. Kevin Park, whose machine learning algorithms were incorporated into Ryan's consulting proposals without attribution. Jennifer Liu, whose cybersecurity protocols became the foundation for Ryan's most profitable client contracts. The names represent more than statistics. They're innovators whose careers were derailed by theft, whose contributions to technology were erased by someone who understood how to game professional credentialing systems. Agent Morrison sits in the third row, having become not just a federal investigator, but an ally in the broader fight against intellectual property fraud. After Ryan's confession was captured on federal recording equipment, the investigation expanded rapidly. Within weeks, FBI raids on his offices uncovered evidence of fraud spanning multiple states and involving dozens of victims. The digital tools that enable modern collaboration, LinkedIn profiles, professional recommendations, online portfolios, also enable sophisticated deception. Ryan created an entire fictional professional network to support his stolen credentials. Fake profiles with authentic-sounding recommendations, fabricated project histories, and endorsements from supposed colleagues who never existed. I advanced to a slide showing the forensic analysis that exposed Ryan's fake LinkedIn network. IP addresses, linguistic patterns, and creation timestamps that proved systematic deception. But digital fraud leaves digital evidence. Every fake profile, every fabricated recommendation, every stolen innovation creates a trail that professional investigators can follow. The same technologies that enable deception also enable detection if we know what to look for and have the resources to pursue it. The federal investigation culminated in Ryan's arrest on 12 counts of wire fraud, identity theft, and violation of federal banking regulations. His trial lasted 6 weeks, with victim after victim testifying about stolen work and destroyed careers. The evidence was overwhelming. Fake LinkedIn profiles, fabricated credentials, stolen algorithms, and recorded confessions. Ryan received a sentence of 8 years in federal prison and restitution orders totaling $12 million, money that will be distributed among his victims, though many of us will never fully recover what was stolen. But this story isn't just about catching one criminal. It's about systemic vulnerabilities and how we verify professional credentials, validate innovations, and protect intellectual property in an increasingly digital world. I clicked to a new section of my presentation: Solutions and Prevention.
The Tech Ethics Initiative that emerged from this case has already implemented changes that protect future innovators. Enhanced verification processes for professional networking platforms, standardized documentation requirements for intellectual property claims, legal resources for victims of credential fraud. In the audience, I spot Dr. Sarah Chen, my former graduate advisor, who now serves on the initiative's advisory board. After Ryan's arrest, she apologized for doubting my story and has become a powerful advocate for protecting student researchers from intellectual property theft. We've also created the Innovation Protection Fund, a legal defense resource for individual inventors and researchers who face well-funded attackers claiming their work. No one should have to choose between fighting for their intellectual property and financial survival. Monica Castillo sits near the back of the auditorium, having traveled from San Francisco, where she now works as a cybersecurity consultant. Our friendship survived the crisis, strengthened by her understanding of how sophisticated modern deception can be. She's become one of the initiative's most effective advocates, speaking to technology companies about protecting their employees from external IP theft.
The personal cost of fighting sophisticated fraud extends beyond legal fees and professional disruption. Victims often face isolation from colleagues who find it easier to doubt their claims than confront uncomfortable truths about how easily credibility can be manufactured. I pause, remembering the loneliness of those first weeks when even people who knew my work began questioning my story. David Morrison and I ended our engagement 6 months ago, but not for the reasons you might expect. When he saw the scope of Ryan's fraud and the courage required to expose it, he realized he wanted to be with someone who prioritized safety over justice, comfort over confrontation. We're better as friends than we would have been as spouses. The audience appreciates the honesty. Professional fraud doesn't just steal work, it reveals character and everyone connected to the situation. Dataflow Solutions, my former employer, offered me a senior position with a 40% salary increase after Ryan's conviction. They wanted to associate themselves with someone who'd exposed major fraud and protected industry integrity. I declined that offer. I advanced to the final section of my presentation, building something better. Instead, I founded Patterson Analytics, a consulting firm that helps organizations identify and prevent intellectual property theft. We work with universities to protect student research, with startups to document their innovations properly, and with established companies to verify the credentials of potential partners. Patterson Analytics has grown from a one-person operation to a team of 12 investigators, attorneys, and technology experts. We've prevented an estimated $40 million in potential IP theft by identifying fraudulent credentials before criminals could exploit them. Rebecca Walsh, the investigator who exposed Ryan's operation, serves as our chief forensic officer. Agent Morrison consults on cases involving federal jurisdiction. And Dr. Park, one of Ryan's victims, leads our machine learning detection systems that identify fake professional profiles across social media platforms. The company represents something I never expected to build, a business born from personal trauma, but focused on protecting others from similar experiences. We've also partnered with LinkedIn, Facebook, and other professional platforms to develop better verification systems. The fake profile detection algorithms we've created, ironically based on techniques I originally developed for financial fraud, now help identify fabricated professional networks before they can be used to steal credit for innovations. As I near the end of my presentation, I see familiar faces throughout the audience: technology leaders who've implemented new verification procedures, university administrators who've strengthened intellectual property protections for students, federal agents who've expanded their focus on white-collar cybercrime. 6 months ago, I thought my story was about sibling rivalry and family betrayal. Today, I understand it was about something much larger: the responsibility that comes with uncovering systemic fraud and the opportunity to build protective systems that serve future innovators. I clicked to my final slide, a photograph of the National Innovation Award I won 18 months ago, the achievement that started this entire journey. The algorithm that Ryan stole has been returned to my ownership and is now licensed freely to financial institutions for fraud detection, with all proceeds supporting the Innovation Protection Fund. The technology that was once stolen to fuel criminal enterprise now funds legal protection for inventors and researchers. The irony is perfect. Ryan's theft of my fraud detection algorithm now funds systems that prevent other victims from experiencing similar theft. But the most important transformation isn't professional, it's personal. I learned that fighting for what's right requires courage I didn't know I had, allies I didn't expect to find, and a willingness to risk everything for principles that matter more than comfort. I close my laptop and look directly at the audience. Innovation requires vulnerability, the willingness to share ideas, collaborate with others, and build on collective knowledge. Protecting that vulnerability from predators like my brother isn't just about legal frameworks or verification systems. It's about creating communities that value truth over charm, evidence over credentials, and genuine achievement over manufactured success. The standing ovation that follows feels different from the polite applause at academic conferences. This audience understands what it means to fight for intellectual property in a world where digital manipulation can override documented facts. During the reception afterward, I'm approached by dozens of attendees with stories about their own encounters with credential fraud, intellectual property theft, and professional deception. Graduate students worried about advisors claiming credit for their research. Startup founders concerned about investors stealing their innovations. Individual inventors struggling to protect their work from well-funded competitors. Each conversation reinforces why this work matters beyond my personal situation with Ryan. Dr. Maria Santos, whose blockchain research was stolen years before my algorithm, serves cake at the dessert table. She's now finishing her PhD and will join Patterson Analytics as a researcher next month. Her career, derailed by Ryan's theft, has found new direction in preventing similar crimes.
Claire, what Ryan did to both of us was terrible, she tells me as we watch the reception crowd mingle. But look what we've built in response. Systems that will protect thousands of future innovators, legal resources that give victims power to fight back, a community that values genuine innovation over manufactured credentials. Agent Morrison joins our conversation, having stayed for the networking portion of the summit. Ryan's case has become a model for federal prosecution of intellectual property fraud, she reports. We've opened investigations into 12 similar operations based on techniques developed during your brother's case. The digital forensics protocols we established are now standard procedure for white-collar cybercrime units across the country. As the reception winds down, I stand by the convention center's floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at Chicago's skyline illuminated against the evening sky. 18 months ago, I was a data scientist whose biggest worry was debugging algorithms and meeting project deadlines. Tonight, I'm the founder of a company that protects innovators from predators, a speaker who educates professionals about sophisticated fraud, and a federal consultant who helps law enforcement understand digital deception. But the transformation that matters most is internal. I've learned that genuine achievement requires not just innovation, but the courage to protect that innovation from people who would steal it. I've discovered that fighting for what's right often means choosing difficult paths over comfortable ones, community over isolation, and truth over convenience. My phone buzzes with a LinkedIn notification. Someone has shared today's presentation video with a comment about protecting intellectual property in academic research. The same platform that Ryan used to fabricate his credentials now spreads awareness about preventing such fraud. 18 months ago, Ryan taught me that in our digital world, lies can travel faster than truth, and perception can override reality. Tonight, I've demonstrated something more important, that evidence-based truth, supported by determined communities, ultimately proves more durable than even the most sophisticated deception. Some victories are measured in recovered assets or legal settlements. Others are measured in systems built, communities protected, and futures safeguarded.
The algorithm Ryan stole was just code, valuable but replaceable. The principles we fought to protect and the community we built in that fight represent something far more precious. As I gather my materials and prepare to leave the summit, I realize that Ryan's theft wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of a completely different, more meaningful chapter, one where innovation serves not just individual achievement, but collective protection of everyone brave enough to create something new. Tomorrow, Patterson Analytics will receive calls from inventors, researchers, and innovators seeking protection for their work. We'll investigate suspicious credentials, verify professional claims, and help build legal defenses for people facing IP theft. It's work that didn't exist before Ryan's fraud was exposed, addressing problems that weren't widely recognized before his victims came forward. From his attempts to destroy careers through theft, we've built systems that protect careers through truth. That transformation, from victim to protector, from isolation to community, from individual innovation to collective defense, represents the real victory in this story. Not just stopping one criminal, but building something that serves everyone who chooses courage over comfort and truth over convenience. Looking for more? We've got 2 amazing stories ready for you right on screen. If this one touched you, these are absolutely worth your time. Click to watch them now. And hey, subscribe and hit that bell to never miss our latest uploads.